Hi, welcome everybody to Midnight Mugs.
Midnight mugs. Cheers. Hannah, show me your mug.
Says
What's it say?
it's not midnight, but it does say rise and shine. It's my favorite.
It's
And
very you.
it has cranberry juice in it.
That's very you too. Okay, name that show that my mug is from.
Oh, Sensual Perks. Just kidding. Friends. It's Friends. I do know.
Yes, of course, it's Friends.
Yeah.
It's one of my all-time favorite mugs. Do you know what's in my mug? It is lavender chamomile plus probiotics tea. That is an old lady tea right there, just so you know.
That is definitely old lady tea. Well, between cranberry juice and your old lady tea, there we are.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to our new late night video series called Midnight Mugs. Midnight Mugs, where we're going to have conversations about stuff and things and questions and walk on holy ground that is not knowing what you're doing and doing it anyway. I feel like that's pretty holy ground. Yeah. Okay. First, before we get started, we have a couple of sponsors to recognize for this conversation. So, Hannah, tonight's Midnight Mugs is sponsored by melatonin gummies. Because sometimes the only way to finish a sentence is if they're asleep first. So, thank you, melatonin gummies. Also brought to you by that one sock. Still missing, still out there, still haunting us. Yes. And finally, our kids' bedtime stories, which we read with Oscar-worthy performances, so they'll actually stay in bed. Thank you. Thank you, all three of our sponsors.
Wow. Yes. Cheers to them. And one missing sock. There are many one missing socks in my house. Just many of them. That I think my kids have given up. They just wear mismatched socks. So it's fine.
Okay.
Except now that school's going to start, and then people look at that. So it's fine.
Oh yeah. My kids do that on purpose, though, not out of giving up, out of like making a statement. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, there you
What
go.
can you do?
What can you do? I'll send my mismatched socks your way.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's tell people like how did we even get here to Midnight Mugs? Because we kind of were we were having conversations long before Midnight Mugs.
Yep, that's true.
So,
and you've seen a lot of our little videos that are out there, which we've really enjoyed making, but we really enjoy having conversations, and we really enjoy digging a little bit deeper into topics. And so we thought, well, it's practically midnight before we can have time to talk to each other after putting everybody to bed, and we can have a longer conversation. So
totally true. So cheers to that, to our first Midnight Mugs. Okay, so earlier in the year, and we talked a little bit about this, I think, like in our first kind of kickoff video, but I think it's important to kind of go back. So earlier in 2025, Hannah and I, like, we've been friends forever, and we were just talking about how we both kind of just felt like, I don't know, just something different happening. And like, we're kind of just, I think, being drawn to new things and just felt like a lot of change, both in our lives personally, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Just kind of God stirring our hearts. I felt like just not really sure what it was, but I could tell it was like, okay, something's gonna happen. So
yeah, I know. And then I think one day I was telling you all of this, and you were like, stopped dead in your tracks, like, wait, what? That same thing is happening to me. And I was like, what? It was pretty amazing.
It really was.
So then we decided we were going, I don't know, we just kept talking about things and all the evolutions that were happening in us. And then we just decided to go away to a little farmhouse without all the noise of our everyday lives, just so we could like think. And it was so interesting because one of the things that we did, and you can tell we're both like, will be reflective of our jobs for those who know what we do. But we started off our little mini retreat with like a few questions. I think we had like 3 or 4 questions. Yeah. And I was like, Hannah, go fill these out over there in that corner, and I'm gonna go fill these out in this corner. And right. And then we came back and like read each other our answers. Yeah. And what did you think about those?
Yes. It was beautiful because we literally, it was like we just reworded each other's sentences of like, we are different, but like we are we think very much alike too. And so the thing that kept coming up was that we are 2 sides of the same coin. That we're the message of what we're really trying to say in each thing was like the same.
Yeah. I think it was pretty cool just to see, like, I think so often when we're having conversations with anybody, it could be like in a professional context, in a religious context, in like any type of way. It's just so easy to get so nitpicky about like the way things are phrased. I mean, I know I do it for sure. Yeah. And you just feel like, no, that's not exactly what I'm saying. Like, you're missing it, or let me try rewording this again. And I think it was so cool because we both had this kind of just aha of like, oh, wait a minute, this is totally the same thing. And that I think we wrote down the verse that talks about, in maybe Proverbs, that talks about iron sharpening iron, and how like it's actually really important to be exposed and have conversations around ideas or thoughts or ways of interpreting things that are different than your own, that may make you a little bit like uncomfortable, because I think it's super important and it helps you just like push the boundaries of yourself.
Yeah.
And that's been just like such a cool takeaway for, I don't know, you and I, as we've been talking about different things in our lives, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. Because we've gotten deeper into conversations, and I think, for lack of a better word, it's moved both of our cheeses of, my friend says that sometimes. And it just, in our same ways of like two different sides of the same coin of like, it has caused like the conversations that we've had are deeper, and it's kind of like pulled away the layers of ways that we've thought, and we've challenged each other's thinking, and it's been just like good raw conversation.
Totally. Well, and I think like ultimately it's interesting because we really didn't start talking necessarily about kind of different topics of like faith and belief, and it's been wild and crazy to watch how this is unwound, and it's still unwinding every day. It's like blowing my mind. But I think another point that might be important for us to share is like kind of our differences there, right? So like we both have this faith that I would say is like so like we're such kindred souls in so many ways, but we have these like wildly kind of different backgrounds and beliefs. You know, I can say for myself, I have just like a lot of religious trauma, and some of you have like read about that, and to the point where I sort of thought I could kind of like detach the two. I could just kind of hold, like, faith was near and dear to me, and so when a lot of just really really harmful, awful things happened, I knew I needed to walk away from a lot of things, but there was like this element that's so baked into me. It's like the thread of resurrection, of death to life, of hope for the hopeless, of in not like a cliche way, in like a deep, gritty way. It was so baked into who I am that I found that I couldn't actually strip the two apart. It's like trying to like take dye colored water and like strip the color out. It just doesn't actually physically work. And so I think I had just held a lot of that and thought I can just kind of carry the tension of, this is who kind of people know me to be, and I will have those themes echoing through my life, and like these are the things that maybe I just like hold totally to myself and I don't really share. And what was really amazing was during that retreat, Hannah kind of put me on the spot, but in a great, very kind way, right? And you just like asked me some really direct questions about it that I think I probably could have only received from you, that I think really started opening that up. And so I've been able to have a lot of conversations around it, and that's been super, super cool.
Yes. Well, and on the other side of that coin of like, I haven't had the religious trauma, but I've dealt with, in my mind, I think it was always, but if I just follow the rules, then that's what I have to do. I'm supposed to follow the rules, and that the relationship piece is like secondary. Like that in my mind, it was rules for, if someone had asked me, like, tell me about your faith, I would have probably been like, you know, in my mind, I would have thought, well, of course, like, of course it's relationship. But in my mind, it was like, but if I followed all the rules, then like the relationship piece doesn't matter as much. And I'm different books that I'm reading and things right now of that God is really just stirring my heart on that relationship piece, and how much he's like, I I just care about that relationship with you. Like, that is so huge. And so it's the conversations that we've had, I mean, from on that, in that same vein of like the religious trauma that you've had has stirred within me, like, okay, but why that? Or what is that priority? And I had, it made me take a look at myself. And I think so many times we are afraid to take a look at those things because they are painful, because they do make us feel exposed and out of control. But I feel like it's just like an actual, so many things parallel to like how God made our bodies. It's just like an actual wound that, like, if there's infection down in there, you can't just ignore it. Like, it's literally going to affect the rest of your body. It's literally going to poison you. And so you can't ignore the wounds, or you can't ignore the things that are, you know, your leg's broken, but you are like, no, it's fine. It's, I mean, to me, that's more like how I felt, of like, that I was like, no, I've got this. But my, you know, leg's broken. And you're like, no, you have to look at it. You have to look at it, and it's okay to look at it. And God will walk with you as you look at it. And if you just give him the chance, he will walk with you through that healing process.
Girl, that needs a cheers. A Midnight Mugs cheers.
Midnight Mugs cheers.
That's so true. Okay, so do you care if I like share something that I've been thinking about with you? And I think you've heard me probably talk about this, but well, not probably, you for sure have. But so I think it really is a matter of like, what is really the message of like the gospel? You know what I mean? And like, I think especially oftentimes when you grow up in church, I think you hear things over and over, and like you hear lots of different stories from the Bible, and it's like sometimes they can make a difference to you, and that's great. But sometimes over the years and over like the decades, things just ring true with you in a different way. And I think sometimes when you've been stripped down and when you've been knocked down by a whole heck of a lot of punches, it's just, things just speak to you really, really differently. So the other day I was writing something, because I love to write, and I kept thinking about like these different kind of classic biblical stories. And I kept being drawn to the adulterous woman. And there's the story of like the Pharisees, they're really trying to trip Jesus up. And so they bring the adulterous woman to him and like cast her down. Okay. And well, the law says such and such. And anyway, he who has no sin, let him be the first one to cast the stone, or whatever. And I just kept like feeling in my like spirit, like, that's just not quite it though. That's like not what I want to show you. That's not it. And so I stumbled across, or I would say like intentionally was shown, but found my way to the story of the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman. Yeah. And it's, I don't know, somewhere in John. Look at it, somewhere in John. So the Samaritan, and I've heard that story so many times, but really it goes like Jesus is walking with his disciples and he's traveling, and he could go a myriad of different ways. He certainly didn't have to go through Samaria, but he chose to go through Samaria. And what I didn't understand a long time ago is the tensions that existed between Samaria and the Jews, right? And that, like, I think Samaria was basically formed by the Jewish people going and intermingling with like a different group, and they sort of became Samaria, and like the Samaritans had kind of tried to destroy the temple, and the Jewish people hated this. Like, let's just say they really, really, really didn't like each other. It was more than just like we don't go to dinner with them. So he's choosing to go through this town where like they're kind of hated. He's a rabbi. And in the middle of the day, he goes to the well in the middle of Samaria. And oh my gosh, I'm already getting emotional. So he goes to this well in Samaria, like around like noonish. And there's a woman at the well. Number one, a rabbi wouldn't be caught dead at a well in Samaria. If number two, he certainly wouldn't be caught with a woman. And number three, you certainly would never drink out of the same drinking container or vase as someone from Samaria, like never. And Jesus goes and he meets the woman at the well right in the middle of the day. Well, why was the woman at the well in the middle of the day? Well, it's because she wasn't welcome with the other women. they typically would come in the cool of the day, not in the heat of the day. So you have the most rejected, bottom of the totem pole person who's at the well. And Jesus chooses to walk in the middle of the day to meet that specific woman. And I'm reading this, and Jesus has a conversation with her, asking her to give him a drink. And she comes, shrugs him off. And at some point he says, if you knew who you were talking to, you would ask me for living water. And she's like, what, are you a prophet? And he says, well, go and get your husband and come back, and I'll tell you about it. Well, he knows that she's not married. And so he says, I have no husband. And he says, yeah, I know, you're telling the truth. You have no husband. And then he kind of just reads her history to her, right? And she, in that moment, she is known in a way she's never been known before. And Jesus has come to her, the most cast out, downtrodden woman in society, someone he shouldn't have been interacting with, and has not only asked for help from her, but has created the sense of knowing, of being seen. And I don't know, when I read that, she basically just says, I'm going to go and tell everybody, here's a man who's told me everything I've ever done. And when I read that, I just started instantly crying, because I feel like that is the story. I know that is the story of my life. That is the story of my whole Jesus relationship encounter, is feeling at least like I was casted out on the fringes of society, and having Jesus create a sense of knowing and being seen. And I think sometimes that is the transformative thing. It's like, you can't give somebody a list of things to follow and rules. It's creating heavy burdens. And that's what the Pharisee did. But when you have an encounter with Jesus, and when you are known and seen, there's something that happens and transforms in your soul. And that's what happened to her. And it was just so moving. And I think as we talk, it's I just want to kind of simplify everything down to its roots. And that's kind of the process I'm going through, is simplifying faith and belief down to the roots of what it actually is, and kind of just getting rid of the other stuff that misses the point.
Yep, 100%. And you talking about the Pharisees makes me think of what our pastor spoke on. So many times, I won't get into the details of it, but so many times the Pharisees made all these other rules on top of what God said the rules were. And they made it worse to break their rules than even just what God had said. And it's we just skew it so many times by trying to control things, instead of remembering God, Jesus met her there. She was who went and told everybody about him. That's when he went public. And
oh my gosh, I forgot about that. That's so true.
Yeah. And that was the thing. That's what he used to start telling everyone that he was he was there, and he loved her, and he didn't scorn her, and he didn't say, let's rip open all of these painful things. Yeah, he told her what her life had been, but he didn't beat her over the head. He just told her who he was. And that is just powerful. And like you said, the transformative power of Jesus in us. If you just giving your heart to him and saying I want relationship with you, that transforms you from the inside out. And he'll do it. He's done it for me. I know all the rules. I've been raised in it forever. I know the rules. I know the this and the that, and the, well, this denomination thinks that, and that denomination thinks this. And it's okay, but Jesus met me where I was at, in my legalism and in my control, and is transforming my heart. And he meets us where we're at, whether we're at the well in the middle of the day, or whether we're in our legalism, in knowing all the rules. He loves us one way or the other. He's just just give me your heart and let me mold it.
I don't even know what else to say. Midnight Mug cheers. I'm gonna link the if you haven't watched The Chosen, which I literally have not watched the entire series other than this scene and like a couple others, because when I was telling Hannah this originally, she was like, "You have to watch this scene." And word of warning, don't watch it before you have to do anything. That was my mistake. And I was like, Hannah, you just made me cry my makeup off, and that's really unfortunate. So anyway, I'm gonna link that in the description because it's so worth. It's like 7 minutes and it'll just kind of wreck you in the best way. And so we'll end with this. In that scene, she's crying and she says, "But I am rejected by others." And he says, "I know, but not by Messiah." And it's just like, that's all I can say.
I love it. Okay, can I pray before we stop?
Get out of here. Okay. You can.
Get out. No, yes.
Why I snapped? Yes, you can.
Okay. Oh, God, thank you for our conversation. Thank you for anyone that is listening to this. God, I pray that they would feel your love and just know your heart. And let us all just feel your presence and have just a glimmer of understanding of how much you just want relationship with us and how much you love us so much, and that you came to save us because you want us. You love us where we are, and you draw us where we are, and you shape us and you mold us. Lord, let us feel your love, not depression or condemnation or legalism, but let us just lean into who you truly are. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. You're never too far, people. Never too far. Midnight Mugs!
Midnight Mugs!
Woo! Cheers!
Cheers!
Bye, Felicia.
Bye-bye.